Welcome to Timeless with Vivek Nitur. Our guest today is Ashish Chauhan. Ashish Chauhan is CEO of the Bombay Stock Exchange, BSE. Prior to joining BSE, Ashish worked at Reliance Industries from 2000 to 2009 in various roles such as President and Group CIO, Head of Corporate Communications, and CEO of Mumbai Indians cricket team in its formative years. From 1993 to 2000, he set up India's National Stock Exchange NSE and worked primarily on technology, screen-based trading system, satellite communications network, equities and derivatives businesses, and the Nifty index, among many of his responsibilities. He is considered the father of modern financial derivatives in India due to his work at NSE. Ashish earned a BTech in Mechanical Engineering from IIT Bombay in 1989 and postgraduate diploma in management from IIMC in 1991. I know Ashish from my days as a student at IIT Bombay. We were not only hostel mates, but also wing mates, and am hence very excited about him being our guest today. Hi Ashish, how have you been?
Thank you, Vivek. It's wonderful to be here. Life has been pretty exciting over the last 35 years since I came to Mumbai to join IIT Bombay.
So Ashish, could you please share your memories of H6 and IIT Bombay?
No, there are many memories, and probably it will take days and months to talk about the memories of the IIT and H6 specifically. I recall myself coming halfway into the first term because my health exams got postponed in Gujarat due to riots in 1985. Many people are under the impression that Gujarat had riots only once in 2002, 2001, but actually Gujarat used to have riots pretty often and very long. So my exams had got postponed, and so in fact I had come to IIT Bombay to give exams. The JEE exam was actually cancelled in Gujarat, and I had to travel to Mumbai to give the exams. And I stayed in H7 those days for a couple of days to give exams. When I got the admission, I couldn't join in because of the exams were postponed. And when I came in on I think I recall September 13th was the date, and it was raining very heavily. In Gujarat, it doesn't rain much, and I had not seen that kind of rain before. I came with my father and with a cycle in tow, and so we kind of settled down in the last room in the middle wing of H6. So it was a what I call trial by fire for me, especially for a student to join halfway into the semester. First term exams were over. In our days, there were three sets of exams. First set of exams, and second set of exams, and then the end term. So I basically missed out all the first set of exams, and the second set of exams were starting. And I didn't know English. So I had studied in Gujarati medium throughout all classes, including class 12. It used to take me almost 2-3 hours to read one page. And it was, in essence, a very tough life. And so those were really very difficult days from angle of being a student who was very good in his own state and his own language, but coming into IIT with language handicap. It was a very difficult life. Of course, I also had some sort of health issues which I developed because I came from a very dry place into a very humid place, that is Mumbai. I started having cough and cold, pretty much running mild fever half the time and taking medicines all the time. I was struggling just to stay afloat, and I was homesick. Every time, literally every Friday, I would take a train without reservation, sleep in the middle passage between two seats many times, go home on Saturday morning, and then start from them on Sunday night to come back to IIT again. Things started changing. I started understanding a little bit of English. friends also started accepting that, okay, this guy's not that bad in terms of understanding. And one day, one of the super seniors who had done BTech from the same hostel was doing MTech from the same hostel and was a legendary person called Pappu, Himanshu. But he called me saying, why don't you join our wings? And so I was delighted. They were kind of seniors, and there were other people who also took it upon themselves to teach me English, which was quite nice of them. In a way, H6 became a home away from home, where there was a lot of care and a lot of sort of understanding of my situation. There were my batchmates who will teach me everything. They will give me their notes. But effectively, I realized early on, because I had left one full set of exams and I was not good at English, I realized that I am not going to work out in IIT. And probably once my results of 12th come in Gujarat, then I will probably go back to Gujarat. And so the results came after the first term got over. I went to Gujarat. I got good marks. Of course, I got admission into medicine, the college, the best medicine college in Gujarat, and I attended one day there. Then I went into the engineering college where I had got admission. I attended one day there, and I said, if I have to study the same thing, might as well go back to IIT. And so I went back, and it was basically December. So I came back to IIT and committed myself to do whatever it takes to at least go through the IIT. People used to have worries about me saying, once this guy, even if he passes through IIT, whether he'll be able to do ever any job or not, or will be able to contribute to the society, especially my friends in IIT, the senior guys. And slowly, I kind of gelled, but not in an academic way, because I was far behind, and it took me a long time to even speak in Viva. They were days of struggle. They were days of learnings. They were days of camaraderie. I developed pretty much the best friendship of my life at six. After 1.5 years, also not many people knew me in my own department or in my own batch, but hostel in a way knew me very well. They accepted me and worked with me to improve on my sort of situations which I was lagging. And they really kind of in a way molded me into what I am today. The discussions, the debates, permanent features of at six those days is what made me into a person who started thinking larger, bigger. What I learned in engineering was very important, but in effect, what I learned from my friends in at six was, I think, equally important. I developed so many friends, actually my batch. Today also we are all in touch, but my juniors, my seniors, it's a family where even if you left 35 years back, when you meet next, first after 35 years, next moment onwards, you, as if you never left, as if you were together always. And those are, I think, the life stories or the earnings which I think I had by accident, that I joined IIT Bombay and I joined at six, and I had such tremendous wealth of friends who are now, of course, spread across the world.
Ashish, even though I am your wingmate, I was not aware of the kind of difficulties that you faced in the initial days of your undergraduation at IIT. I am happy to hear that you overcame those difficulties and H6 soon became your home with a lot of friends. So I'm very happy to hear that you successfully overcame that challenge. Talking about your fourth year, it's a visit to BSc that happened as part of Professor Joke's course. And I believe you visited the 28th floor publication department and library of BSc, where your office is currently located. Is that not an amazing coincidence? How do you look back at this incident?
We were all taken to various places to visit, including L&T, I recall, which was next door to IIT Powai, because L&T's factories are also in Powai. But clearly, Bombay Stock Exchange was a new experience, because as engineering students, you don't get to see what finance is, and you have very vague ideas, if at all, about how these things work. So seeing that in sort of in action, in those days there was a lot of action in on floors and all, and also sort of a lot of paperwork. Information was not easily available, and so the Bombay Stock Exchange had a publication department which used to come out with a one-page write-up on every company those days, and so that used to be preserved forever by everyone, all the people in finance, especially in stock markets, to know about who the companies, who are the people running it, and things like that. And so it was an interesting sort of episode where all of us were taken. We went through without much understanding, but you got an idea that it's not very different from any other office. And people do publications and things like that. You were not aware of the importance of the data that they collate, and why that data is so important that literally thousands of crores of rupees or even billions of dollars of sort of money can change hands just on a small little information. Those days, we couldn't even assume, or we couldn't think what was that visit all about. But life is what I call full of coincidences, and that's how when you look back, all these things sort of you think that you were destined to do it, but sometimes there are many other things. What I call life is a path-dependent disequilibrium. You continue to go from one place to another, and the control you have over that is very little. Uh, in a way, you have to keep on moving, whatever way the life takes you. And in a way, when you look back, the story fits in, but it could have been that I might have joined L&T or a manufacturing company. And then that coincidence also would have been sort of again stark. So when you look back, in hindsight, life is like 2020. But in a way, the future, nobody has seen how it works. And I take life as it comes. The toughest period in my life, in some ways, was the IID's first year. And in some ways, that made me what I became later on. But in some ways, it was also destined. In some ways, the destiny actually sort of unfurls itself over many probabilities, many sort of equilibriums or disequilibriums, and you kind of walk on one path, and that's how you continue to move, and then suddenly in another path you go, and then it takes you there. So in the second year of my IIT BTech, I developed a friendship with a person called Sharda Ranjan Pendarkar, the same batch, same department, and we came very close. We became room partners, and we used to be awake through the nights. We had the same vices, we had the same views, and same interests, and so we basically became kind of like brothers in arms. And slowly, the institute and hostel started kind of seeing us together. They After second year, I think very few people have seen us separate. When we had to go to the institute, we would walk together. The cycle had already gone by then, with all punctures and all. But everything we did was pretty much did together. We were in the same room, so we had to go to exams and so on and so forth. He had a great role to play in my personality. Of course, there were other friends from the same batch who also stayed in the same wing, like Rajesh Kamal or Vijay Bodile or Avinash Punekar or Ravindra, whom we used to call Patri, M. Ramesh, Mahesh Krishnan. Either we were in the same wing or the next wing. And so it was kind of a huge camaraderie in the overall sort of staying together. And still we remain great friends. All of us do Zoom calls now, since we are not able to meet in person. But literally every year, end of the year, when the IIT Alumni Day comes in, second last Sunday of the year, we all meet at whoever can come down to Mumbai. We all meet at IIT just to relieve our old days, visit our hostel, visit other hostels, and talk to professors. And those were, I mean, in a way, these are the days, and of course, uh, also be very happy about the reflected glory we get in the success of all our juniors, who some of have done great in their careers and their sort of in helping the country. So we are, in a way, becoming old. Uh, the old boys who have now sort of see the pleasure or take pleasure in the juniors' achievements.
Ashish, how do you look back at your days at IAMC?
When you go to IIM, it's very different from what you do at IIT. In some ways, the physicality remains the same. There is a hostel, and of course, everyone is there to study. But by the time your personality is fully developed, you are an adult, and really even worrying about your career and things like that. And that's where I think IIM was a little more cutthroat. I wouldn't say a little more, but quite a lot. And the courses were a little uh, away from what we came from, engineering. Of course, engineers have great advantage even in the business related area. So I mean, what was IIT for me, it was very tough, while as the IIM was much easier to study because by the time I had got some grasp over English and speaking also. So it was quite easy compared to IIT. But and the courses which were found to be tough by other people who were not engineers were easier for engineers like statistics and other things. But overall, we were kind of floating. People were trying to become the best to get the best job because they had already figured out where they want to go. There are very few people like me who were still trying to see where to go, what to do, and whether they are in the race or not. But even in IIT, if I look back, I was never in a race. Probably it was what I call it's part of my nature that I don't. I work hard, uh, but not for myself. I work for the cause or I mean, achieving something rather than for myself. And so it was a little bit of a different world, a different shock. You become more worldly wise when you join such a sort of dog eat dog world. And 2 years is a long time. Of course, people are still young. The great friendships also develop. But over and above that, each person is also worried about what life is going to be in the future. And they are also on the edge because the environment kind of gets you into that. Sometimes, even if you are laid back, uh, the environment, the atmosphere around you of huge competition gets you into that competitive mode. And very few people like me kind of remain outside that. And I remained kind of aloof from that competition for a large part. I still continued my IIT lifestyle of not sleeping in the nights and sort of sleeping during the days. And Calcutta, fortunately, allowed me to do that, allowed me to explore the courses which I wanted to explore. And those, I think, those days probably are gone now. IIMs have become much stricter. I've been told even IITs have become stricter on class attendance and all. But those days, we were able to meet the professors. We were able to explore the situations or the courses or information which was not even part of the course, and that allowed me to have some flexibility. There were no courses on finance, especially the markets related finance, except probably one course called security analysis and portfolio management, and there were no professors teaching stock markets those days. But I had some developed some interest in stock markets during my IIT days also. And so I could study on my own, look at magazines. And so I am, in a way, made me a little more worldly wise than what I was at IIT.
Ashish, could you please name professors and mentors who have influenced you the most during your life journey?
Nobody becomes whatever they are at whatever stage in their life on their own. There are so many people and so many people's hard work that goes into making one person. And so for me, there have been literally thousands of people who have helped me, hundreds of teachers from kindergarten onwards who took care, who ensured you got the right values, you got the right advice at the right time. And so for me, of course, it's the most of the contribution sometimes is of few people, but that doesn't mean that other people did not contribute. And so I would like to kind of acknowledge my debt to all my teachers, whether they were my colleagues and taught me or they were formally my teachers or bosses. And initially, I think in a way, my mother was the role model because she in those days, in 1950s, uh, she was the perhaps few women who studied, completed the education in terms of the graduation, where people were finding it tough to pass even matriculation. She completed her graduation using her own money by stitching people's embroideries, embroidered clothes. And she was a gold medalist in economics in her time. Uh, and so she was working woman, of course, running the house when we were young. And she had a lot of medical conditions, and still she never gave up. She continued to work very hard throughout her life. And that was a kind of a motivation, an understanding from a young child saying, what's happening to my mother, why she has to suffer so much. And still she never complained. She continued to do work and also homework, but also office work. So she was like a rock in my life. Just by doing things, she kind of gave us examples that how tough one has to be just to lead a normal life. And in terms of the when I came to IIT, there was one teacher who happened to be a friend of my mother through another friend. And so I joined IIT. I was not very good in English, and there was a worry even at home that I may not stick at IIT because of the way I used to go home pretty much every weekend to Ahmedabad from Mumbai. And so she, after I think 3, 4 months later, she wrote a letter to one of her friends who was a professor at IIT Bombay. Her name is Dr. P.P. Parikh, and said, you go and meet her and give her this letter. And so I went and met her. So she took me under her wings and she could talk in Gujarati with me. There were very few people around me who could speak like me or eat like me when we are, in a way, we are vegetarians. And so it was a somewhere I got a new mentor, a new person who could kind of understand my anxiety, my uh, changes that were happening in my life because she had the son of the same age and I could sort of gel well with her son also. And we became kind of very close. We still call each other cousins, although we are not related. So when we introduce ourselves, his name is Bhushan, Bhushan Parikh, but and now he's in US for last 30 years, 35 probably, 30 years, yeah. And still we are like brothers. And that's basically that support which she gave me personally and emotionally was very, very important for me to just be able to stay. Of course, the friends, the H6, Hostel 6, the other friends within the campus were absolutely important. But from the perspective of just going and sitting with somebody like a family was very important. She became my local guardian officially at that time. And so for me, if she was not there, probably I would have in a way, gone back because I had not developed close relationships with friends in the first few months. And I was already worried about what will happen to my studies and things like that. And so she has had, Dr. Parikh had a great role to play in my life, in my career, in just ensuring that I stay in IIT and kind of complete uh, the course and don't go back to the college in Gujarat where I would have done the same engineering. She knew the value of IIT, which in a way I didn't know, and that was very helpful. Of course, later on she became my BTech uh, guide, and she had a great lab which on IC engines, and I started working with her on the gasifier, that is finding alternate fuel. In those days, the cost of fuel, the fossil fuel was going high, and like anywhere in the world, we were researching on fossil fuel, sort of creating alternatives to diesel, petrol, and all. And so we were working on gasifiers, and she got new computers, um, and so which were more like desktop than uh, the mainframes which were in vogue those days. These were like first few desktop type of computers, not exactly desktop, but and they were from HP, and the language they were using called HP Basic, and nobody knew how to use them. They were lying there. I started using them, learning on my own, reading the manuals, and taking the data from real time on thermocouples and pressure gauges and all of the gasifier, putting them into this computers, getting real time graphs. Those days, this was magic. And so I learned the HP Basic or the basic. We were taught Fortran 4 those days, but I learned basic on my own, and started programming things, started showing real time stuff. And when I look back, I think that portion of a mechanical engineer doing the BTech project in gasifier, learning to program computers, getting real time data, and showing them on graph charts and becoming comfortable. I used to sleep in the labs those days, otherwise also. So, and that came in much handier later on during my life. And when I look back, it was as sort of accidental as my joining IIT or staying back in IIT or anything else. So for me, I give a lot of credit to Providence. Probably it is for good. I started getting attracted to computers, and those sort of accidents is what life makes, I mean, so much more interesting, so much more colorful. But some of those accidents that changed my life in retrospect were unbelievable. Means I can't even think how India could automate its stock exchanges if I had not got that experience uh, of taking real-time data. In fact, this was an accident. It was part of providence that I've learned, and later on, I got selected again by accident to implement the NSE project for India. And so these are all, in a way, these are linked areas. When you look back, like as I said, you are always wiser, and you are 2020 when you look back. And I was not a great programmer, but I had some exposure, which helped later on the country and how it moved in automating the rest of the world.
Ashish, this is very fascinating. So I now understand that your BTech project in getting real-time data by writing program in BASIC while working on the gasifier laid the foundation for your later work at NSE, where you actually set up many of these real-time systems, and which in turn laid the foundation for your current work at BSc. So I actually see a very nice thread, you know, cutting through various parts of your life. Could you please talk more about your experience of setting up NSE?
My summer training at IIM, uh, it was done at ANZ Greenlace. Now it's called, it became part of Standard Chartered once Standard Chartered took over the ANZ Greenlace. And it was in Calcutta. It was a World Cup, Football World Cup year. And ANZ Greenlace used to have large number of branches in West Bengal, and they had a good amount of what I call bad loans, what is now considered NPA, non-performing assets for banks. And so ANZ Gridleys had NPA problem those days. India also used to have NPA problems those days in 1990. And just above the ANZ Greenlay's main branch in Calcutta on, I think, 19 NSC Road, there was headquarters of Industrial Reconstruction Bank of India, which was a bad bank created with all the bad loans of all banks to recover. And that bad bank concept is coming into vogue once in a while. Now also you can hear the noise about creating another bad bank as if it's a new thing. We had created in late 80s, and it didn't collect too much of the bad debt anyway. But in a way, I started working with IRBI through the ANZ Grindlays to look at their portfolio, how these things go bad. But during that project, I realized that I started liking finance and also institutional finance, the long-term finance and things like that. And I said, I'll work with financial institutions and not with commercial banks. And so there were three financial institutions in India, IDBI, ICICI, and IFCI. IDBI was the largest financial institution those days. ICICI was the private sector financial institution, used to pay much more than IDBI. And IFCI was also a government institution. So finally, when I applied to these three companies from the campus placement, and I like a true IITian, I would go in t-shirts and sleepers to give even interviews. And fortunately, IDBI interviewers could see through my casual attire and talk to me for almost an hour or 45 minutes an hour on variety of economic issues and financial issues. And they found that this guy has some interesting views. And whatever happened, but they selected me. And so, in a way, I joined IDBI in 1991, April 1. My convocation had not happened, but just the exams got over. We cleared them, and straight away I came and joined the IDBI. And I was, in a way, exposed to newer things in life. One of the more interesting part was that the public sector, like today, even in those days, even worse, was besotted with a lot of labor issues. Spreadsheets. That is, we used to do a lot of projections over 10 years of the company's life if we want to give project loans. So literally for every quarter, we had to make huge spreadsheets running into literally lakhs of points. And each time, if you change one of the assumptions, the entire spreadsheet will change. And people used to do things with calculator. And there were calculator experts. And I came from a situation where PC80s were becoming sort of more prevalent. And IDBI bought 1,000 PCs, very new, sort of top of the line Modi Olivetti computers. And they were lying in every officer's cubicle or outside the office in spick and span condition with all plastic covers because nobody knew how to use them. IDBI had put in a lot of money, but nobody was using. Few people like me started using them, and that created even more humorous situation because if your boss didn't want you to come back fast, when you take the entire appraisal with all the explanation, all the spreadsheets to him, he will say, just take this raw material price and change it by 5% and see how it works out. He would suddenly know that you will come back after 2 months because all the points in the data sheet will change and the entire working will change. And I started using Lotus 123. I started putting things into Lotus 123 and created spreadsheets. And so when my boss would say that now change this by 5%, you would think I will come back after 1 or 2 months. Instead, I'll come back in 5 minutes saying, sir, this is the now new stuff. And he would be totally surprised saying, how did you do this? I wanted you to come after 2 months. And now you are here after 5 minutes. So I developed a kind of reputation of being a IT whiz kid in IDBI. And same time, these few computers were there. I started typing things myself. I started filing things myself, putting the files into proper cupboards. And so my casualness, which was there in IIT and IIM towards work, suddenly disappeared. I became very, very sincere and very hardworking for the normal work. I was earlier sincere for the extracurricular activities, but in IIT and IIM, but I became more sincere for real work when I joined IDBI pretty much instantly. I don't know how it happened to me. But effectively, I started doing everything myself. People realized that these computers could actually turn their life upside down. So there was a strike of all the IDBI employees, including officers, including all the work, sort of what we call class 3 employees, class 4 employees. And so every day morning, everyone will start shouting before getting into the building. It was at Cuff Parade IDBI Towers against the computerization. And so I saw a life-changing situation there also in terms of how computers' powers were anticipated by public, and they thought it's going to replace them. And today we have more banking jobs than ever before. But it has made life much more easier for the users of those computers, users of those banking services. But the people who were there couldn't even visualize how their life could become easier. Instead, they thought it'll take away their jobs. And so in IDBI, I was in project finance department. I used to do a lot of project finance. So I got exposure to electric power generation plants where each loan would be like, even those days, 2,000 crores, 1,000 crores in 1991. And that was pretty much the largest portfolio in IDBI, the power and electronics portfolio, which I used to handle. And then we also used to trade a little bit in stock markets. My salary was 3,000 rupees. Everyone was into stock markets because liberalization was just starting up. We were going through a very tough balance of payment process sort of problems, India as a country. And we had foreign exchange available only for 15 days of imports. And we had to send our gold out. And so we were like a post 91 generation. I just joined the job exactly at the time when India started going into balance of payment problems. And so I got also trial by fire there on how to manage our external loans. All the private sector loans were managed by IDBI those days. And so we could see the rupee moving down substantially day after day, and so many other issues. But I started trading in stock markets, and with very little salary, we were making more money out of stock markets. And someday, one of the days, the Arshid Mata scam came out, and I lost a lot of money, which was like more than my year salary. And I learned a very bitter lesson that if you don't do risk management well, however well you are informed, you will still have tough times. And so that also kind of helped me. My exposure to stock market during my IDBI early days helped me understand the nitty-gritties of stock markets, which later on helped in setting up NSE and of course in BSE later on. But there were many such situations which made me some sort of a IT person. Although I was in project finance, people knew that this boy can do some IT. And so when IDBI was told after Russian scam to develop NSE, they selected 5 people. And those 5 people, I've been told, were already involved in setting up SEBI, Security Exchange Board of India, which was set up in '89 earlier. And so they had come back to IDBI and they were selected. Perhaps one of them dropped out, and they wanted to have a guy who cannot say no to them. And so they selected a young person who was an engineer, so that it was supposed to be a technology thing. And I had a reputation of being a good at technology, as well as I was only 1 year into the job. And so they said, this boy won't even know that this can spoil his career if he doesn't work out. And so they selected me as a part of the 5-member team after one of them dropped out. And so again, by accident, I got sucked into a project called National Stock Exchange, which was supposed to be an automated exchange. And there was not a single engineer who had worked in IT before. And I was the guy who had done project finance, but had an engineering degree. who was the only engineer technically in the entire sort of team, banking bureaucrats trying to set up a private sector exchange in a completely automated situation with a complete what I call confidence that America, one of the exchanges, NASDAQ, is a screen-based exchange. Later on, it was realized that NASDAQ has screens, but they don't trade on screens. When they have to trade, they call each other up. They used to phone each other up. Whereas our bosses felt that actually when you see the screen, the algorithm also matches. And so we had a kind of a wrong perception about how America does things. And we ended up doing it because everyone thought that is how it happens. And we actually were, we were so good that we ended up doing it, right? So it is interesting how all this thing kind of fall in place when you kind of try to look back how these things happen.
Ashish, one thing I would say is that there are many parts of your life journey, which are completely new to me. I had no clue that you had so much of difficulties in your initial days at IIT, and I did not really understand the backstory behind NSE.
This 5-member team was set up, and we started working from the research and planning department offices of IDBI Tower, which was on 21st floor. And we were, in a way, all new to the stock markets. The bankers, which were my seniors, I was just getting to become a banker. But in a way, they knew a little bit based on their understanding and the books. But the reality of Indian stock markets were very different. There were also other perceptions about the stock market being den of thieves and things like that, and also places of gambling, what they call satta bazaar. And so it was kind of interesting how it evolved. My bosses at the highest echelons of IDBI were very clear that NSE would not be a public sector unit. It will be a private sector unit. And so it was structured that way. And in a way, I ended up writing down the article of association. And in a way, my job was slightly different because I was the youngest. If you were to get apply and get bandwidth licenses from DOT, Department of Telecommunications. Again, I had to go and things like that. So it was, if you had to do interior decoration, I had to do. And if you had to hire an office, I had to do. So first thing which bosses wanted to do was to throw us out of the IDBI office. And so they said, you hire your own office. And there we had to have an estimate of how big an office we will require, because those days the exchanges used to have large floors, and this is going to be automated exchange which has no floor. So I ended up estimating what could be the size, probably somewhere between 15 to 30,000 square foot we can start with, whereas the BSE's floor itself would be more than 50,000 square feet. And so it was like on the run, I was estimating things, moving around, and I had never done IT work before in a commercial organization. IT work in those days was about EDP, which is called electronic data processing. People used to punch data and get some accounts work out of that. Other than that, IT had no role to play in most organizations, including stock markets. I ended up taking one premises for rent. That didn't work out because of license being not there. Then we ended up taking another premises on rent from Mahindra's in a place called Mahindra Tower, which is next to, very near to the TV tower at Worli. And so we became their tenants, and we took their first ground floor, which was actually first floor, on rent, which was 23,417 square feet. And so I signed the agreement, and I was 24, 25-year-old, enjoying newer things in life, because in IIMs at IIT, you are supposed to, when you study all the larger things, right? You don't study, or you never even think you will be kind of working on getting telephone lines or getting all these things done, interior decoration done, and their tenders, and taking decisions on what kind of colors should be there for the furniture and things like that. So I was, in a way, it was new to me, but I was also enjoying. So we moved into that by covering one area. Interior decoration was going on at that time in the office, but we just took the canteen area, got it covered, and we started sitting there. And that time, our boss, we were just retired from IDBI. Dr. R.H. Patil also started sitting with us, and so we created the RFP, request for proposal, with another agency which was specializing in stock market creation, called International Securities Consultant from Hong Kong, set up by a British person called Sue Selvin. And so there were five people of us working together, and we hired some other youngsters, and many of them were youngsters but elder to me. So and many of them started reporting to me. So I had to also learn how to make officers report to you. You were their boss, and so I had to learn to work with them. And over a period, the IT part, which was very difficult, fell in my lap. Uh, the stock market part, because we had to set up the bond market, which was interbank, which was easy, which is what good people do with ties and IIMs and IITs and foreign degrees. They used to be in bond markets. And the dhoti topis, the uncouth guys, used to do the stock market, the equities trading, what we get excited about. Did not have that great a reputation those days. And I was the only Gujarati in the team. And till 1994, the notices in Bombay Stock Exchange used to be in Gujarati. And I had studied in Gujarati medium, so I could read and understand what was there. And so, in some ways, my background of being a Gujarati, studying in Gujarati medium also helped in understanding what those guys were doing, the competition and things like that. They were the largest exchange. So, effectively, we realized that if India had to create a nationwide screen-based exchange, we had to go and have very fast connections which don't drop. And those days, even to connect a single phone in Cuff Parade exchange would take you 30 minutes, because the phone line was, the exchange was so busy that your call will not go through. We said we need perpetual line, minimum standards, that much throughput has to come, and across the country. And one lease line of 64 kilobits per second in Mumbai from Worli to Nariman Point would cost you 4 lakh rupees per annum those days in 1993-94. And from Mumbai to Calcutta used to cost 40 lakh rupees per annum. So it was unaffordable to do that. And then we said, okay, we will try to work on satellites, because we have so many satellites and we don't use them for commercial purposes. So we went to government, requested them that if the satellite capacity is available, you allow us to use satellites, because then it will be perpetually on situation. But satellites are basically broadcast, sort of natural broadcast tools. They are not for interactive. One-on-one becomes very tough. And there are other issues. But finally, I had to work. I had to kind of figure out how I make them work. And we selected a protocol called X.25. Now, many of us would not have heard of that telecom protocol, X.25, but it is what we call deterministic protocol between two parties. And if the packet gets missed, then you actually ask, the other guy asks for the packet, because each packet goes in a sequence. And if the sequence breaks in the recipient, you can figure out and then ask back. But when you are on a large scale, it's like television. You can't ask the frame back, because by the time the television has moved forward. And so I had to tweak the X.25 protocol to ensure that things worked in real time, sort of each time changing situation every second. And that was what I call a more interesting situation, because TCP/IP was coming very newly. Not many people had worked on TCP/IP. And we wanted to work on things which had already been tested, tried, and worked. So X.25 was selected. And that was a wrong technical decision in retrospect. But still, the implementation which we did was so good that using satellite, which was not good at doing that deterministic stuff, we kind of mixed and matched. We changed the protocol a little bit. We changed the way the satellites work a little, and we were also given the bandwidth which nobody uses in the world. India has a framework called extended C-band, which is not used anywhere. But we were given that, assuming fully well that this will not work. And so I had to work with the engineers from Gilat satellite systems and GE SpaceNet, which has now become Verizon those days. And so it was fun. It was tremendously intensive life because I was alone, not married, staying alone in Mumbai because my family was in Ahmedabad and they were all migrating to US in just at that point in time, and they were pressurizing me to shift to US with them, and I was kind of enjoying my work. And I had, just before joining the NSC team, I had applied to a university for MBA again in US. I got a scholarship, but they had rejected my visa, US embassy, because uh, they thought that I am young, I am highly qualified, and Gujarati, who is going to go and stay there and not come back. So they kind of did not give me student visa. And so again, that was the quirk of fate or providence, which kind of made me stay back. But when the satellite, we had two, I mean, one tender for the IT part. We wanted one single vendor. So we had the software, hardware, and telecom part into one sort of tender called RFP. We issued it to 40 global people, and they came back saying that keep telecom separate and the hardware software applications separate. So we halfway divided into two parts. And for the telecom part, we had to go and check out how the satellites work because it is easy to think that satellites systems will work commercially. But in those days, even in US, only 2, 3 companies were using them commercially. And so my bosses said, okay, you go ahead and do it because you are doing all this IT. And I was like 25 years old. I went to the American embassy with my passport and also invitations from American companies to visit them. There were 3 companies from America and 1 company from Australia. Those are many, many such instances that come to my mind while setting up NSC. In fact, from very mundane to very interesting. And then this Reliance offer came, and I said, okay, let me try. And if even if things don't work out, and I may still get a job in Reliance. So effectively, that was my backup. And I started a new B2B e-commerce company in March 2000. And immediately the derivatives were allowed to be started with all the law changes and all. So I was also talking about derivatives across the country. I was also trying to set up this B2B e-commerce company called exchangenext.com, which was supposed to be a kind of a background company to all the e-commerce engines, e-commerce exchanges in the country. So we started uh, on exchangenext.com platform. We started a petrochem.next.com for petrochemicals, which Reliance and other companies are interested in. Then we started steelnext.com, which was for the steel users. And then we started papernext.com, which was for paper users. And so we had plans to start up many, many such companies. And in the meantime, in 2001, the B2B e-commerce collapsed. The stock market collapsed, and everyone lost interest in e-commerce. And then I was called to meet Mr. Ambani once and said, I mean, we had realized that now this is not working out. And in the meantime, Reliance was taking over IPCL, so there were not too many companies selling. And so he said that this is not working out. And of course, you are a sincere person and you have a good team. And we are spending almost $5 billion in setting up a telecom company. So would you and your team want to work in telecom company? And we were literally on road because there would not have been any jobs. And we had good salaries, which Reliance was paying. And so I was like 1 year before, in year 2000, I was like founder of derivatives and all those things. And in 2001, I was almost jobless with my first venture failing. And I decided to stay back, becoming useful because they had already got the organization structure already going for the Reliance Infocom. And so we were like a small little 100 people team working as consultants like Price Waterhouse guys or Diamond Cluster guys and many CGEY guys. A lot of guys were, thousands of people were working as consultants. We were also working as consultants, but we were like inside consultants, not outside. The billing system was not sort of designed to integrate with the sales system. So people were selling and the billing was not happening properly. And so we had like crores of customers and bills were not going well and nobody was paying. So we were all worried. We used to work through the nights and try to solve. And one day at around 3 a.m. in the night, Mr. Ambani works like through the nights many days. So he called me saying, "What does a CIO do? Chief Information Officer of a telecom company do?" So I said, "Okay, sir, I will come back to you with a job specification. That's what you want?" He said, "Yes, I want job specifications." So next day, again, I did like any other MBA. I went through all the internet job specs of a telecom CIO, kind of modified a little bit here, there, copy pasted, created one comprehensive document, took it to him. He looked at that and said, "Okay, now you are the CIO, clean up the mess." And so I was made the CIO of Reliance Infocom, and I had to basically clean up all the billing issues of the Reliance Infocom those days, which fortunately by providence and by everyone supporting me, including Mr. Ambani, we could clean up the mess in 6 months without putting more hardware, software, anything, just by tweaking things in processes and sales processes and all, and tweaking some softwares. And I was trying to still stay into finance, into entrepreneurship, and not go into technology. But here the technology was again pulling me into itself. And so this got solved, and the Reliance Group started thinking that I'm very good at IT. In a sense, when I have seen commercial life and I have seen IT life, so that's why I have some ways to handle it. But I did not aspire to be an IT guy. I wanted to be a finance guy, right? So, uh, and I had reputation which was more in finance. And IT champions in India were all billionaires by selling the work of other people in software. Because I was the user of the IT, not the software vendor or the manpower supplier to rest of the world. But they were the billionaires, and they had the glamour with them. We were all users, small little employees of large companies. And so, but that is how the life takes you. And as soon as this got solved, the brothers split. And so I was the key managerial personnel in the Reliance Infocom, which went to the Mr. Anil Ambani. And so at that time, they also hired another person as CIO of the new group, which was running the telecom. And so I left, and I did not have a job in hand. But I left saying, already you've hired a CIO, I don't need to do it. And when I come from a family of government servants, and we don't require too much money to live, I thought I'll teach students. I like teaching. So probably that's my end of corporate career. And so I kind of left Reliance Infocom. And then I got a call again from Mr. Mukesh Ambani saying, I heard you left. And I want you to come and meet me. So when I met him, he said, why don't you join us? And I said, sir, don't pity on me. I mean, if you have a good role, I will come. Otherwise, it's fine with me. I don't require too much money anyway. And I want some, because salary was good. So he said, no, I will get you a good job, a good profile. And so next day he made the CIO of the Reliance Group in the industry side. So now I'm from telecom CIO. I became the CIO of a group which was largely in those days into refining petrochemicals and all. And they had several plants. And so I had to set up SAP framework and also automation of each plant was done differently. So I had to combine all of them. And then I was also awarded the best CIO in the world by Chemical Week in the chemical engineering department in area by Chemical Week US. And so that kind of gave you an idea that you are doing on right things, And then they wanted to go into oil and gas, so I had to set up automation for oil and gas, pipelines. Then they want to go to retail, so for retail, um, schools, colleges, hospitals. So it was like a very large amount of work. In IT, I had several thousand of engineers, including many of our colleagues from IIT working with me. And then within the same framework, one of the days he called me in the night because that's when he gets time to think and call people. So I went to meet him. And we had all, at least I had adjusted my time to his timing of office. So I went to meet him and he said, can you handle public relations for Reliance Group? So I said, what do you mean? He said, all this print thing, all this media is really basically doing these things, and I want you to handle that also. And I said, okay, sir, I have never done this before, but I will try. And so I became, in addition to the group CIO of Reliance, which was IT job, I also became now additional the group head of public relations. So
Was that an interesting experience to handle public relations, Ashish?
no, it is unbelievable. I mean, as an engineer or even as an MBA, you would never think you will be doing that. But it is fascinating how the media works and how all the perceptions situations work. And so I came more in contact with uh, the sort of directors and other people because the media first basically calls the PR person. And so, and I knew the business because I was also IT in charge, so I knew what's happening in each business, uh, something wrong, something right. And so it helped me. And of course, I was a finance guy, I was a commercial person, so I had exposure to every aspect of running of business. So it helped me run the PR also well. And then later on, when they set up, they actually bought a cricket team called Mumbai Indians, and I was like a very passionate cricketer with a lot of enthusiasm, very little talent. Mr. Ambani knew that I had this love for cricket, but I was doing very large two jobs, IT and public relations, and so I was not wanting to get involved much. But and they had people who were running that. They bought the team, they selected the team, they did the jersey, they did all the advertisements, and then one day I got a call from Mrs. Ambani saying, "Ashish, you need to meet me because Mr. Ambani has told me to give you some work." So next day morning, I went at around 11 to meet her, and she said, Mr. Ambani said that now onwards you will handle Mumbai Indians. So I said, Madam, this is news to me. She said, yeah, but yesterday we were chatting and we have this desire that you run the Mumbai Indians. So she said, now the first thing you have to do is to sell the tickets. After 4 days, there is this first cricket match of IPL 2020 of Mumbai Indians in Mumbai. And we have not sold a single ticket. And so you have to sell these tickets, which is like almost 35,000 tickets.
It was only
And
four
so,
days trying to sell 35,000 tickets.
yes. And of course, India had won the World Cup of 2020, and there was enthusiasm. But to sell it was not easy because Indians are used to value for money. So what we used to get in 5 days test match started coming in one day, and then in 3 hours in 2020, and nobody had done 2020 that much in India, and we had to sell those not only for one 2020, but seven 2020s in 35 days, and plus three more for two semifinals and one final. And even the stadiums were not fixed. Sometimes it used to be Wankhede, sometimes it used to be DY Patil. And so, first time we had this tickets to be sold, out of which 20% was for the MCA, Mumbai Cricket Association, because it was their stadium. Any 80% we had to sell. And fortunately, I could sell those tickets because that's why Mr. Ambani wanted me to do it. And so I ended up selling those tickets. And when three of us entered on the designated day, the stadium was full except Sunil Gavaskar side, Sunil Gavaskar uh, pavilion, and Sunil Gavaskar stand. And so they looked at it and Mr. Ambani said, "But Ashish, why that is empty?" So I said, "Madam, that is not our ticket. That's an MCA ticket. And clubs don't work as fast as us. So they have not distributed their tickets to the clubs because MCA is like a club of clubs. Mumbai Cricket Association has several thousand clubs below them. And they give out tickets. So I said, they have not. So she said, but it will look bad. No? Why don't you do something? So I said, okay, madam, but that security guys will not allow free people unless they have tickets in hand. So she said, can you do something? I said, okay, ma'am, let me check out. So I went to the ticket window of MCA. And the tickets were lying there because nobody had lifted them. I took out some, went out of the ticket window. And usually on a cricket match day, it's just outside the Churchgate Stadium, Churchgate Station. So there are a lot of people hanging around. So I just threw the tickets, and there was a commotion. People were trying to take the tickets free, right?
Didn't it
And
cause a stampede, Ashish?
yeah, it did create a stampede, and so the police started running that, saying there is some rioting, and they caught me saying this is the guy doing this situation, and so they put me into their van. And I was saying, no, boss, I'm giving this for free, but there is no other way to give this. So I'm just doing distribution. And he said, when they kept on putting me, then the security of Reliance realized that I have been caught. So they came in and told them that this guy is the boss. And they said, no, but boss is Mr. Ambani. Who is this guy? And they said, no, this guy is the CEO. And that's how I came out. We fortunately could give out the tickets free of cost of those stadiums within few minutes. People went, settled themselves. So after 20, 30 minutes, when again three of us went inside, the stadium was full. Match happened properly. And then, of course, we had to move from DY Patil to Wankhede, depending on where the MCA wanted to do the matches or IPL wanted to do the matches. And this happened. 10 matches got over. Mumbai Indians, unfortunately, didn't win the tournament. But it was a good experience. Largely, it was more about business than with cricketers because I had to also try to earn the money from advertisements, give good facilities, good security, uh, good sort of food, uh, and a lot of other issues. There were also worries about the terrorist attacks and all. So it was more to do with that, arranging things within Mumbai than meeting cricketers every day or sitting with them and chatting up. And so it got over. The season got over. We did the accounts, gave it to the Reliance accounts team. It got over. And I thought now next time they would have hired somebody. But second year came, and when I was doing my IT job, I was doing PR job, and the second year came, and it was announced that it will not be held in India, but will be held in South Africa.
Right.
So again, Mr. Ambani called me to his office. He said, "What is your plan for South Africa?" And so I couldn't say no, I couldn't say yes because I didn't even know whether I'm the boss any longer or not of that cricket thing. Because cricket happened only 35 days a year. The rest of the
Right.
time, I was doing my normal day job. And so he said, no, you figure out what to do and implement. So I had to take the team to South Africa, make them move around, take their kids along, do practice, take so many people who would go from here to there, local sales of tickets. I mean, it was a totally different life, and I had to stay there for almost 60 days. And so we were staying in pretty much, there are two large cities, Johannesburg and Pretoria, which are actually like Mumbai and Vashi. They are next to each other. So broadly, most matches happen there, but there were matches in Cape Town and three, four other cities, one, two matches. So we had to literally play the match will get over at like 12:30, and then by 4 you pack the kits, send the kits by buses, and take the cricketers by planes to the next destination. And so we were like a caravan moving every day from one place to another. Every 2-3 days we would move and move and move. But usually we started staying in the same hotel. I started knowing some of these great cricketers like Sachin or Zahir or Bravo or Sean Pollock and many sort of Mumbai Indian Jai Surya. Jai Surya was almost my age. Uh, and Sachin also was few years junior. And so we had more sort of attunement in a way, while as Harbhajan also would come and sit with me because I became like a father figure. Some of them were half my age. And one of my jobs was to ensure that they don't go in wrong ways. Because when you move so much and so much of glamour is there, a lot of wrong things happen. And I don't drink or and so there was a bit of a CEO-ship, which was very unlike other CEOs of cricket teams, that I was completely not into parties or into glamour. And so, but it got over. Again, we came back, and I had a separate software company of my own, which was providing software for stockbrokers, especially in back office, which was started long back. And
Excuse me, Ashish. When did this software company start? Which was
It
developing
started
software.
as a parallel around 2001, 2012, two.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
it was kind of my hobby company,
Okay.
giving software to stockbrokers because derivatives I started
Right.
for India, and there were no derivatives back office softwares. So
Right.
a lot of brokers sort of
Right.
requested me that why don't you start? And it was
Right.
like a hobby company where some of my colleagues were running. I was working full time. It was more than 24 hours a day job in
Right.
Reliance. And so I was funding them from my salaries, and they were running it. My wife was owning some portion of shares, some portions were owned by employees and other colleagues. And so that's how it was running. And then I realized around same time that I was a diabetic from 2002 onwards, and I
I didn't know
was
that, Ashish. I didn't know that. This is news to me.
yeah. So I was diabetic from 2002 onwards, and we had tried many medicines, and each year the medicine dose would go up. And so I had done naturopathy, and I had done a huge amount of fasting, where I reduced almost 12 kilo of weight. And as an outcome, which I realized later on, I started having pain in my legs, including in the feet and knees and all. And I thought it was because the flat foot which I had. It was not going. And I was almost on the verge of thinking that I will not be able to walk. And so I had the software firm running. 2008-9 was a tough period for the world markets. Uh, I had savings which I had put in into the company, and whatever shares I had sold, the money came also I had put into the company. But it was looking very bleak, and there were already 100 people working for the company called Marketplace Technologies. And so I thought I must sell it. I sold it to somebody, and after 1 year, in 2009, he gave me back saying he didn't have money, so he wanted me to run, and that company came back with losses. So, I was going through really tough patch on personal, physical side, health side, and also on the company side because I did not have the income to run company even because the company becomes so large that if money doesn't come, uh, it it will last not even for 5 days. So I was trying to search, and then the BSE was searching for a similar company because the competition NSE and MCX had already IT companies with them. BSE did not have. So they asked for a much lower price to be paid, and over 5 years they were supposed to pay. And then finally we agreed because it was a question of 100 people's job. And so we sold the company. My wife sold the shares to BSE. And the last moment, they put a condition that I had to work with them for a year because they had not got the derivatives. And they said that this guy can get derivatives. So they were trying to take me in by saying that I have to work with them for a year. I thought I will sell the company and continue to work as CEO of Mumbai Indian and slowly move away from other responsibilities. But instead, I was sucked into BSE that way, and since so I kind of 2009 end,
When
I
you
joined BSE.
when you joined BSc as part of this 1 year condition in the sale contract, did you imagine that you would be working for BSc as the CEO a decade later, or did you kind of imagine the future?
In fact, as you rightly said, I was there for a year because that was the contract.
Yes.
And at the same time, when you are there, you are taking salary. I was deputy CEO. I had at least they had hope on me to work on getting them technology to get derivatives and things like that. So I was working really hard to kind of ensure that they don't fail. And the company which they bought gives them a good sort of reason to have bought, because you buy something large, but many times this mergers and acquisitions fail. I was also ensuring that the company merges well into BSc culture and all. And so, and I'm not very ambitious. I never was. So wherever life took me, I went. So here I was for 1 year and it became second year, third year. And then at the end of third year, the CEO resigned, and then I was made the interim CEO. And again, there was a perception that I'm basically they wanted to hire somebody with IT background, and I was kind of not that greatly interested. So I was also on the sidelines, saying if you hire any other CEO, I will hand over and I move. Or if you hire me as CEO, that's also fine. So after 6-8 months of searching everywhere, they ended up hiring me as a CEO. And so now it's almost 7.5 years since I was made the CEO. And so in a way, this is my longest stint. I have, in a way, never changed job. The IDBI NSE was one 9 years situation from
Yes.
91 to 2000. From 91 to 2000. And 2000 to 2009 and was Reliance where went as an entrepreneur. 2009 and to 2020, 11 plus years. I never change jobs. If it continues, I continue. Whatever salaries are there is fine. As far as I am able to do something interesting, something useful for the company and country, I continue. So that's broadly, I don't have any long term plans, never had what I want to do, whatever is interesting. I have done huge amount of work across spectrum and some of the most interesting and some of the most important projects of independent India I have been involved in just because I did not get straitjacketed into one single sort of ways of doing things or one single career. Whatever came my way, I ended up doing. And that's what I think life has shown me more colors than probably anyone in my age group.
That's a very, very fascinating story, Ashish, because I see some kind of a continuity in your story right from NSE to Reliance and subsequently into your journey into BSE. So, when you joined BSE, what were the major challenges at that point in time that BSE faced, and how did you go about resolving those challenges and bring BSE to a stage where BSE reached a 6 microsecond latency? So, how did that process happen? I'm very curious to know, Ashish.
See, when I joined BSE, it was basically an organization given up for dead. There were other exchanges. There were, in fact, 21 other exchanges which had already closed down. And BSE was also pretty much going to close down as per most people because NSE was so dominant by that time with derivatives succeeding beyond anyone's wildest imagination. Knew another exchange group was coming. And so, in fact, somebody commented also that BSE is next to a museum and it will become a museum in those days in 2009 end. And there were bets taken on my not joining BSE because people had opinions about me saying that this guy is a hot shot uh, with the richest person in India, and why would he come and join here? And so, and especially for a dying organization. So there were lots of apprehensions of my joining. And when I joined, there were several issues with the organization because it was originally association of persons. It was a club of people, club of brokers. It was set up in 1875, so it had a very long history. It was almost 135-year-old, so it's not easy to shake it. It's not easy to change it, and it was already going into really comatose situation with the brainy brokers running away due to variety of scandals, and the employees who were staying there were not having a clue because they were never told to make decisions. They were told to sort of implement the decisions, never told to make the decisions. So there were several problems which were in a way very difficult to solve, and those problems don't get solved in one day. Human systems are not easy. For me, NSE was easy to implement because it was from scratch, from ground zero. It's easy to build new things. BSE was several times more difficult in a way, is because there are so many cobwebs in the system of 135-year-old system, I mean, in the organization. People's mindset, uh, everything has to change. And so we kind of started working on that. The CEO that time, a guy called Madhukanan, he had come from US. He's an Indian, but came from US. And so we had a 5-6 people new team, and we identified several areas. The prime most area was IT. That IT had not kept pace with the time. In 95, BSE also became automated, but till 2010, they had not spent much in terms of updates, making new things. And so they were really far behind, and that's why they couldn't set up derivatives market, because they did not have technology to set up derivatives. And so technology was a big thing. SEBI chairman then called me saying that why I thought you will help BSE is because of your technology background. So I want you to help BSE to do technology well under your leadership. And so there was a sort of opinion about me solving all problems of BSE's technology in one single day or one single year. But there were other issues, like BSE did not have good product mix. It was pure stock market in equities only, not in derivatives, which had become already like 20, 30 times larger than equities, and not in bonds and not in many other things. They also had only brokers from Bombay area. Very few brokers were from outside. Whereas NSE had a lot of brokers from outside. So the distribution was very poor. The more important part was employees. The employees, again, were old, had old style, floor based kind of employees. Some of them were very good. That's why BSE was still running. But some of them were really not up to the mark. So we had to hire people from outside, and nobody wanted to join because BSE was not considered a good organization which will last longer and you can make a career. And then BSE also, in a way, had very bad reputation in the market, in the public's eyes, that it's a scandal-prone exchange and so on and so forth. And so we had to work on all these 5 areas to improve technology, to improve distribution, to improve HR, to improve the regulatory and other reputations, and to also create product suite which is all encompassing. And then any new products allowed, you have to work on that also parallelly. And changing software is not easy for a large organization. And ours is an ecosystem. We have a large software, but thousands of brokers connect to us. So when we change, they have to change, and many of them don't have money, no intentions, because they are already working on NSE. They wouldn't change for us. So it was like a very tough thing to change the software. In fact, if you go from manual to automation, it's easy to do.
Yes.
But automation 1 to automation 2, not many companies in the world have done that. Banks which were on mainframe in 1980s are still on mainframe in 2020. Banks which are on client server in 1990s and 2000 are still on client server now. Nobody changes, because what happens is, if things go wrong, which usually they do, then CEO and CIO, CTO, all of them lose the job. But if things go right, they don't get credit for. So nobody tries to touch the sleeping lion, which is the IT. But we had no choice. We tried to modify our systems, which were old. They were very costly because they were what we call non-stop systems. They are disaster proof, but they used to be really uh, very, very costly. But new computers were able to easily create software-based redundancies. And so we said we will go for, after 2, 3 years of trying, we said we'll go for the open source framework. And it was again an ambitious project, but finally we took the trading system from Deutsche Börse, which is a German exchange. We modified slightly to our requirements, and they are not software vendors, so we had to just take their software, modify ourselves, and put in live. And the back office, tendering, risk management, listing, banks, collateral management, all those things were given by marketplace technologies. And so we changed all of that. And when we were going to go live in a what I call risk managed way with a new segment we were starting called currency segment, we were entering almost after 7, 8 years of NSE. And so we were kind of Me Too solution coming in. But we had signed up with Deutsche Börse in 2014, June, I think. And we were going live in 2014, November or December. And the deputy CEO of Deutsche Börse, who was a good friend of mine, Andreas Preuss, called me when I announced that we are going to go live. And he said, boss, you cannot go live because this is not going to work. I said, no, but our team is confident. I am confident that we are going live. He said, no, you cannot because you are going to spoil our reputation.
Why did he feel that way?
That his technology team had made a presentation to the board that it will take at least 4 years for the BSE to implement the software. And here we were trying to go live in 4 months and without any support from anyone else and little documentation from Deutsche Börse. And so he said, boss, you are going to spoil our name. And I said, no, I can give you in writing that I will not blame you if things go wrong. And he said, no, but everyone knows you are going to use our software. Our team is very confident that nobody else can implement even in 4 years. So they're giving you a kind of a long rope that you being good, you will be able to do it in 4 years. I said, let me try. And despite the opposition, we went ahead and launched it. It worked perfectly. And later on, we added more and more sort of segments to that, finally equities and all. And today we have very large sort of market share in derivatives in currencies, which was our first launch on that new trading systems. But that trading system was still giving us a response time of around 200 microseconds, which was way beyond what we were experiencing in the earlier trading system. And it was open source system. People had apprehensions of the support that will not be available and things like that. But it all worked well. And then later on, we understood why we were getting 200 microseconds. So we made it into 180, 160, which was more incremental changes. But then I told my team that why don't we do a kind of a quantum leap and go into nanoseconds, because it's that today we are able to do it 200 microseconds. Tomorrow competition will do it because computers become faster and faster and people become smarter and smarter. So this will happen. And so they took a challenge and tweaked the software in such a way that now pretty much we advertise 6 microseconds, which is 150,000th of a second. But usually our median response time will probably in 2 microseconds today. And in future, it can go to nanoseconds also because the sort of the computer is becoming faster. The people who make the software are understanding where the delays happen. And these are pretty much among the fastest systems world has. If just to give you a perspective, a tweeter might get say 10,000 new tweets every second or 20,000 new tweets every second. In BSE, we can handle 500,000 orders every second. And Twitter doesn't work on response time of 6 microseconds. We have to give you 500,000 orders for the 6 microseconds. If we allow deterioration, then it can handle more. So these are of a different scale, different size, different understanding technologies. There is no more what I call high tech in the world than the financial market systems like this. To give you another perspective, like IRCTC, which is what the computers booking system for the railways is, they might do 15 lakh uh, bookings in a day, right? I can do basically 3 crore orders in 1 minute with a response time of 6 microseconds. Right? So those are the scale differentials. You may imagine how the systems would be, but this is all open source. It reduces our cost by miles. And then, of course, we have big data and everything open source. And so we try to basically make our own technology. So then we took people in BSc to other areas into IPO distribution, bond distribution, SMEs, mutual fund distribution, into now insurance distribution. So now we think we are basically a technology company in the
Yes.
guise of a stock exchange.
Ashish, could you please talk about the IPO of BSE and also the India International Exchange that you set up that operates for 22 hours with a 4 microsecond latency?
Basically, the India International Exchange happened in a very strange circumstances. In 2013, June, I think it was June 23rd or 29th, Mr. Modi, then CM of Gujarat, was in Mumbai, and he also visited BSE, BSE's hall, which has become a convention hall, to launch a book by Mr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe called Beyond a Billion Ballots. And so he was coming to BSE, and I had gone for a vacation to UK and Sweden. Um, and so I got a call from my office saying the CM of Gujarat is coming. And so I cut short my vacation and I came back on the day Mr. Modi was to arrive at BSE. I just landed 3 4 hours before, went home, had a bath, and went straight to office. Uh, Before he arrived, I was there, and we took him to visit BSE and have a small meeting with the BSE brokers. Nobody knew at that time that he would be the prime ministerial candidate of BJP. At least nobody outside knew. But I was showing him BSE, and I started chatting up in Gujarati with him. So he said, "Are you a Gujarati?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "How come?" And I said, "I'm a Gujarati from Gujarat. I have studied Gujarati medium, and I'm from Ahmedabad." And he said, "What is your original village?" So I told my original village name, which is slightly 30 kilometers from Ahmedabad. And so he said, "Why didn't you come and meet me before?" So I said, "No, sir. I'm an officer, and uh, whenever somebody calls, I go. So if you call me, I will certainly come." So he said, "Okay, I will call you. But we are setting up a new international finance service center, and I want you to set up an exchange there in GIFT City." So I said, "Sir, I am an employee at BSE. Of course, since you have said, I will take it up to our board, and hopefully it will work." So he went back to Gujarat after that event got over. And few days I got a call saying you have to go and meet him in Gujarat. So again, I went to Ahmedabad, Gandhinagar, met him. Then 2 3 times he gave me one by accident. There was one award ceremony in Ahmedabad where I was getting an award. He was the chief guest, so he ended up giving me award. Then he could remember my name and where I come from and a little bit of background. So he's kind of able to remember all this. And so in 2015, when he was already Prime Minister of India, we signed an MOU with the government of Gujarat uh, to set up a new exchange in Gandhinagar, GIFT City, for IFSC, International Finance Service Center. And we started working on it. We created the company. And finally, his office agreed that he will inaugurate on 9th of January. And that's how we ended up inaugurating the exchange. And I think is the uh, of any first incident of any type where a prime minister inaugurated a stock exchange in India. Um, and of course, there were 5,000 people uh, waiting for him to be there, and it was a very large organization then. And we started trading on 16th of January because of the Uttarayan happening. Uttarayan was on Saturday, 14th January, and usually we Gujarati start newer businesses post Uttarayan. So when he asked me during the function on 9th of January, saying, when are you starting trading? And I said, sir, I'm starting trading on 16th of January. He said, why? And I said, sir, it's after Uttarayan, first working day after Uttarayan. Because Saturday, Sunday, nobody will trade. And Monday is 16th. He said, okay, I understand. And that's how it happened, trading on 16th of January. And it was basically the most modern exchange world has seen in terms of the technology. But the cost of technology is like a fraction of what it would cost anyone to set up the exchange, because we did it on open source with the same software with some modifications we had to make. And so that is basically now 3 years last month in May 2020, Madam Nirmala Sitharaman, Honorable Finance Minister, inaugurated the rupee dollar contract on the GIFT city. And today it trades almost $2 to $3 billion of transactions a day. It can help India raise close to $1 trillion over the next 10 years for on bonds and other things. In terms of BSE's IPO, when I joined BSE 2009 end, there was already a need for doing IPO, because in 2005, when BSE had become a company from a association of persons, from a club to a company, there was a promise given to the BSE by the government's notification that it will be listed. And then when I joined in 2009, and the regulator set up a committee to look into how to list. In 2010 or 11, the committee gave its report saying exchanges shouldn't list. And now we had a situation where there are many outside shareholders, including foreigners, owning stake in BSE with an explicit promise in writing that it will be listed. And now we couldn't list. And so we had to work a lot of back channels and also front channels to ensure that it's allowed to list, because then only people get exit. And so we finally got the approvals in 2016. And again in 2017, uh, on after the inauguration of the uh, Gift City Exchange, India International Exchange, we listed on February 1 the BSE's own shares on NSE. And it was oversubscribed 51 times. It is We don't have an sort of promoter. Nobody owns more than 5% in BSE. It's a fully professionally run organization, and in a way, it was something not many people thought was possible. That happened. Later on, we also did the IPO of CDSL, which was also one of our associate company, and we were told to sell some of the stakes by the regulators. And so we did the IPO there also. Before that, I'd also done IPO of Reliance Petroleum for Reliance Group. I was involved pretty much as the representative of Reliance. So, and of course, running NSE also, I have been party to many IPOs. And of course, within BSE also, we do a lot of listings. So it's not something new to me. I'm delighted that people got their what I call their exit that was promised at the time of privatizing BSE.
Ashish, in a sense, doing the IPO of BSE and NSE is your life coming to a full circle, right? You actually helped set up many of the important systems in NSE.
Yeah, in a way, the way I look at it is this is all part of Prarabdha,
Yes.
Many people, when I was joining BSE, asked me, saying, how you can join BSE, which is rival organization to the one you set up. When I was joining Reliance Group, that time even my father said that why are you going to private sector and
Right.
becoming an entrepreneur? We are all government people. How you are living a secure
Right.
job and trying to go
Right.
into all an insecurity? So for me, I have seen you have to have that trust in yourself, in the goodness of people, in goodness of your own activities, and ensure that you don't hurt anyone, don't sort of go out of your way to uh, take what I call problems with people. Things do happen, of course. It also reduces your enthusiasm as much, because many people say that I don't show emotions ever. Public life makes you that much more what I call uh, equanimous. That sometimes you get credit for things you might not have done, and sometimes you get brickbats for things you might not have done, or where you may not even have say about. But you have to continue taking it in your stride and do what is good as much as you can.
Ashish, how can one make BSc and Mumbai a global financial center?
In a way, BSE is the top 10 exchanges in the world in terms of the market capitalization in the world.
Yes.
Uh, in fact, yesterday's news in the almost all large newspapers in the world say that BSE is the 10th largest exchange in the world in terms of the market capitalization of the companies listed. And that's what is the correct benchmark to value the contribution of an exchange or of a system. I treat Hong Kong, Singapore, Dubai, London, they are basically international finance centers because they are small little islands. Although UK, we have perception it's a large country, it is not. It's a 60 million people put together. Basically, for me, they have a different economies, different mindset because they don't have large economies behind them and the regulations that go with that. While as we have tried to create similar thing in the Gandhinagar Gift City. So that's how I see that Gift City is more comparable to the Dubai, Hong Kong, London, Singapore. Of course, I don't know whether Hong Kong will remain that in next 5 years because now it's becoming pretty much a part of China. The BSE and India are working in what I call capital-starved economy, and international finance service centers like New York uh, are capital surplus countries. So they send out their capital to rest of the world. So Infosys can go and list their IPO in New York because those people can pay money for businesses in other countries like India. India, for next few years, at least decade or so, may not be capital surplus as much that it can become an international finance service center for Indians to invest abroad as much. If we become large as an economy and a wealthy country, from 10th largest exchange to become a third largest exchange or fourth largest exchange will not be very difficult because in a developed country to have such an exchange which is so liquid, so trusted, and with such a large uninterrupted history of 145 years is not there. Even China has three large exchanges: Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Hong Kong. Their history is very checkered and very young. Shanghai and Shenzhen have just recently started. In a way, we have a tradition, we have trust of people because finally what we manufacture is trust. Everything else is based on this trust in the central government, in the regulators, in the exchange, in the settlement mechanism, in the companies, in the information they are getting. So this trust, if we continue to maintain and if India becomes rich, I have no doubt that in next 10, 15 years, BSE might be in top 3, 4 in terms of the world in terms of market capitalization.
That sounds very interesting, Ashish. I have actually seen you talking about capitalism without capital these days, a lot in your interviews and appearances in various TV channels. Could you please talk a little more about this concept?
See, basically, the capitalism is again a new word in the world. It happened under what I call a space-time framework of Europe in late 19th century, where a lot of industrialization happened, and the farm hands moved from the farms, where also automation happened, into the cities and started staying in ghettos, in slums. Today's London, when you see, today's Europe, when you see, you think it would have been always like this. No. They used to have large amount of slums and extreme poverty like we have today in many of our large cities, 100 years back. And 150 years back when Karl Marx and Engel and all were living. And they created this theory that the capitalist person with the money is able to invest in large machineries, large companies which invest machineries and kind of make money out of their money which they had old, and take literally the blood or the sweat of the laborers and become richer, and the laborer remains poor. But the systems across the world over time immemorial have been very, very extractive, very cruel to the poor people. That's why this capitalism versus Marxism or communism became a word because of the experiences of Europe while in industrialization. That you require large amount of money to set up factories and then make large amount of money. So you require capital for capitalism. Then the world moved, the technological waves which made industrial revolution possible uh, continued to move, but those waves of newer and newer technologies are becoming faster and faster. So what used to happen earlier in 100 years or 200 years started happening later on in 50 years, then in 30 years, then 20 years, like that. And so the epoch, which we used to think was say 200 years or 300 years, now the epochs are happening much faster. The waves of technology, waves of society change is also going to happen much faster. So you can see the spread of ideas, spread of newer technology, spread of creating newer wealth is happening much faster. First time in human history, you don't require capital to create new capital, because the new IT, new ways of doing things, even biotechnology, they don't require too much capital. They require a little bit of sort of money. Of course, some money is required, but a lot of brains, a lot of exposure in creating solutions for the world. And suddenly, you may be able to become billionaires. So my understanding is that today, if India has to come out of the low income trap it has come into. Our per capita income is $2,000 per annum. US is around $55,000 per annum. We are like 27 times lower. If you have to go into higher trajectory, you can't create your society based on the past. If you try to create the same which China did 20 years back, you'll be me too. And the profits you will derive will be 1/100th of what China derived 20 years back. Whereas if you look at the future, see where the future is going, develop some methodologies to capture the future, then there is a possibility that as a society you will benefit much more. And first time in 1,000 years, we are not enslaved. First time in 1,000 years, especially last 70 years, we have also created a society which is more equal than ever before. It's not equal yet, but it has come a long way in 70 years. People are studying, and for me, the brilliance is not going to come out of one group or one caste. It's basically of millions and billions of people, out of which few people will sort of come up from wherever. You will have so many people coming from the lowest strata of society, provided we give them that exposure. And that is what last 70 years have done to India. We have captured the IT framework by quirk of fate, by prarabdha, as I say, or providence. And now we are ready to take on the future that next 10,000, next 50 years will create wealth that has not been created in 10,000 years. And now India is ready. India's population is ready. And we don't even require capital, because if we require capital, of course, there are infrastructure projects where you will require capital to create roads, ports, and all. But to create newer wealth, it is all dematerialized wealth. Music is dematerialized, right? And a good music from you or me can now reach billions.
Yes.
So for me, that wealth, you create a new software of new way of life, new way of even virtual reality, which will take you into a different zone. You can become a billionaire. And for me, I want every Indian child, where they come from doesn't matter. What economic background they come from, or what caste, creed, color they come from doesn't matter. But all of them today have an opportunity to become billionaire. And that's what, for me, uh, the capitalism without capitalists, that India today is ready. And to take on the future, and we are 17% of world population, but we are almost 20% of world's young population, more than that. And who will create this new wealth? It is young population. They will learn newer things, newer technologies. And that's where, if we create even 25% of world wealth in next 50 years, today's, you know how much world wealth is? It's around $360 trillion. If we create $360 trillion more wealth, it'll become $720 trillion. Out of that $360 trillion more wealth, if we create 25%, we'll create new $90 trillion. And our current wealth is around $9 trillion. So we'll be 90 plus 9, 99 or $100 trillion out of $720 trillion world wealth, which will still be around 15% of world's wealth. We will still be 17 or 18% of world's population. So we will still not be a very rich country, but we will be a middle income country, provided we take this technology framework which has come to create wealth, take away those mental and regulatory structures we have created, allow people to create businesses freely and create wealth, and don't despise wealth. For me, I want everyone to be rich.
That is very nice to hear, Ashish. This is really a very nice vision. Ashish, you have received numerous awards and honors, and you have also received the Distinguished Alumnus Awards both from IIT Bombay and IIM Calcutta. In fact, in IIM Calcutta, you have given a very humorous speech about your experiences. I saw that video on YouTube, and it was a really nice speech. So, which of these awards gave you the most amount of personal satisfaction, Ashish?
As you rightly said, I have been fortunate to get many awards. Uh, and when you look back, I think coming the Distinguished Alumnus Award from IIT and IIM both are very close to my heart, because in a way I was at most a mediocre student. So when I got the news that I have been selected, I was also surprised. Even the IIT award came first in my 25th year of living IIT in 2014, and the award came on my 25th year of passing out from IIM. So both came in my 25th year of sort of passing out from the institution, and both are very, very dear to my heart. If I have a chance, then you have a chance. The last benchers, right? And that is what I also tell India's last benchers, that if I have a chance, then you have a chance.
That's very nice to hear, Ashish. I would like to talk about the connections that you have with many of our friends from IIT Bombay and also Hostel 6. Basically, your friends say that you get along very well with all sorts of people. You keep in touch with friends and always try to help them out in some way. And they also say that your friends' happiness is your happiness and their problems are yours. And you are not just into normal networking, but you actually really care for people. And your friends say that they can actually depend on you, even if they do not actually come to you for some kind of help. Your mere presence is a source of tremendous confidence to them. One of your friends remembers that he got to visit the British Parliament in order to witness your award ceremony, and also got to have dinner there, with you. Because he said that he had never imagined that he would one day get to enter the British Parliament. And I also have a story to share. When I was a freshie in Hostel 6, in my very first year at IIT Bombay, you were in your fourth year. And in fact, you approached me and asked me to become your wingmate. And that is how we became wingmates. This is an incident that happened, I think, in August 1988. I'm not sure whether you remember this incident, but I remember it very clearly. I've also seen that in your talk and in also in previous discussion and also in your various interviews and talks elsewhere, I've seen you say that a life that is successful is about different experiences. Could you please talk about your personal philosophy of life in this regard and how friends are important part of that philosophy?
When I was very young, I got involved in a lot of religious activities. And there was a perception in my immediate family that I may grow up to become a monk of um a sect called Swaminarayan or Baps, as we know, Akshardham, you might have heard of. So I was never ambitious. But by quirk of fate, I ended up going to IIT, got into IIM, and got involved in the commercial life. And so, since childhood, it has been always about trying to be helpful. Life not lived for yourself, but for the society and others. And clearly, friends are very important part of my life. It's about that affection, which is what drives me. And today, I may be in a different position. Tomorrow, I may be in a different position. Similarly, it will be with every one of us. And so the role which we play is like a drama. And each role we play, it's not that we play only one role. And so we get all involved so much in our roles in life that we think that role is life. And then you start measuring people on that measurement. And that's where many people sort of lose out on the colors which life shows them. While as for me, it's always what we call Maya, that whatever roles that have come my way or probably your way, or this is our own little small little plays, small little dramas that are going on, and you are playing several roles simultaneously. Give your best to what is the role you are playing at that moment, or probably multiple roles, but also with a clear understanding that this is not you, that role is not you, your money is not you, your degrees are not you, your past is not you. It is basically you are away from all that. And when you can take that out from your life, it makes you so much more humble and so much more understanding of life that when I do some meditation, basically for me, if you can take away your desires as much as you can. One Krishna has said that karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana, means you get involved, you do work, and it's like Arjun, you have to fight your battles. You can't run away. You have to do your role. But that doesn't mean that getting the fruits of your work is your job. So each role you play to the best of your ability. Any role that comes your way, if you start enjoying, start giving your all in the most honest, most positive way, then broadly speaking, it works. You have to keep your mind positive, don't get frustrated, and it will continue to move. So for me, friends have been important part of my life. Family, of course, has been important, but in some way, I'm also a little more detached with time passing than ever before, so that you're able to see life with a little more equanimity.
That was very profound, Ashish. I have learned a lot about your life journey in this discussion. You have actually shared your life journey and a lot of insights along the way. And there is some kind of continuity between one segment to the other segment of your life. So this is completely amazing. I am really fascinated by your life journey, and your success is a source of great inspiration to all of us. So thank you very much for this discussion. It has been really wonderful to talk to you and wonderful to learn a lot more about a friend whom I know for more than 3 decades through this process.
Thank you, Vivek.
So
And I
thanks a lot,
hope,
Ashish.
I hope you enjoyed what you heard, and hopefully this will reach out to more people.
So thank you very much.